Grønn Torsdag.
Velkommen til Grønn Torsdag. Her Anders Mastrand og jeg, Jon Lurås. Og vi har vært på landsmøtet til Miljøpartiet De Grønne, Anders.
Ja, og det var det jo mange andre som var også. Blant annet 4 stykker som kom fra utlandet.
Ja, og da skulle vi ut av komfortsonen vår. Vi skulle prøve å intervjue på engelsk, eller du, i hvert fall noen av de, og du, men der var jo du flink da du har bodd i sånn engelsk snakkeland, du.
Ja, jeg har noen år bak meg, så det funket. Dessuten så slapp jeg jo billig unna. Jeg tror jeg fikk den mest pratsomme intervjuobjektet av dere alle. Det var ikke så lett for meg å slippe til. Du begynte med Katrin fra Sverige, så da var det vel bare litt svorsking, eller?
Ja, det funket helt greit, og hun har jo da vokst opp ganske nær Norge. Og hvis jeg husker riktig, så var det Jämtland, og det er jo egentlig gammelt norsk område.
Ja.
Det blir jo da rammet av det der skjærtorsdag-fylla fra nordmenn, da.
Ja, det kommer oppover i Jämtland nå, det er ikke bare ned til Strømstad, liksom, nei.
Men hun er partisekretær, og det var interessant å høre om hvordan det var, hvordan det går i Sverige. Og så er det jo valg i Sverige til høsten, så får vi jo krysse fingrene på at de greier seg, og ikke sånn, var det 36,9, det var han der i Jagland, ikke sant? Men svenskene sikker på 7,35, for de var 7,34 som rekord. Nei, vi kjører i gang med Katrin. Velkommen til Grønn Torsdag, Katrin Wissing. Du er partisekretær for De Grønne i Sverige.
Jajamän, takk.
Og nå er du på landsmøtet til Miljøpartiet De Grønne i Norge. Det er veldig hyggelig at du kommer hit.
Ja, det er faktisk min 3. gang som jeg er her på landsmøtet.
Har du klippekort?
Ja, jeg kjenner meg så hjemme her, vet du.
Ja, du er østtrønder, har jeg hørt.
Jeg identifierer meg som østtrønder, ja. Nei, jeg er fra Jämtland.
Ordentlig på bygda. Bor det noen folk på bygda i Sverige lenger? I Norge så sier vi det at alle svensker flytter til byene.
Jo, men, og så er det veldig mye. Men jeg kommer fra Duved, og det ligger veldig nære Åre som en skidort. Så at vi ser jo ikke den der. Men absolutt at det finns hele den trenden i Sverige. Så er det. Ni er mye, mye bedre på å ta hand om bygden enn hva vi er. Men
det er jo flytting til byen i Norge også, så
ja.
Jeg bor på et lite sted, og vi sliter jo da med å få folk til jobbene som trengs for at vi skal fortsette å bo der.
Ja, men, og ni kanskje har samme problem med demografin som vi også, at de eldre blir kvar, men de yngre flyttar og kommer ikke tilbake. Det er litt av et problem.
Det kjenner vi godt til. Jeg tenker at altså, som nordmann så vet jeg vet ikke veldig mye om De Grønne i Sverige, men jeg vet jo at dere har sittet i regjering, og dere har gått litt opp og der litt ned, men akkurat nå jeg kunne jo selvsagt ha forberedt meg på samtalen og sjekke alle fakta, men hva skulle du sagt da?
Nej, exakt. Mycket bättre att det inte var förberedd. Nej, men just nu ligger vi ganska stabilt. Vi ligger runt över 6%, någonstans mellan 6,1 och 6,5% i opinionsundersökningar eller meningsmåling.
Meningsmåling, ja.
Meningsmåling, ja. Så att vi ligger där ganska stabilt. Vi vill upp lite mer, för vi har ju val nästa år och då vill vi, vårt mål är...
Men är det inte i år valget? Nästa år?
Ja, du hör ju, jag är partisekreterare och valgeneral. Man är helt slut redan. Nej, men i år, i september. Och då tänker vi att vi ska göra vårt bästa valresultat någonsin. Vi kanske har lyssnat lite grann på er och sådär. Nej, men vi har ju väldigt tät kontakt. Men vi ska över 7,35% har vi tänkt.
Och 7,35 är det bästa det har haft?
7,34 är det bästa vi har haft.
Ja.
2010.
Hvordan skal dere greie det da?
Vi ska göra det genom att visa att vi är det parti som faktiskt tänker större. Alltså att vi faktiskt ser helheten. Att vi ser komplexitet och system istället för att hålla på med tomma slag i luften och populism. Vi behöver prata om en rättvis klimatomställning i hela landet. Försvaret av naturen och miljön. Och vi behöver prata om ett jämlikt Sverige som håller ihop. Därför att den här regeringen som vi har nu, Tidöregeringen, den sliter sönder Sverige med sin ekonomiska politik. Och det måste vi komma till bukt med. Men vi ska ju också, vi ska inte bara prata politik, vi ska också ha en backevalkamp. Vi ska också naturligtvis vara ute och träffa väljare. För det är ju så man faktiskt får folk att rösta på oss, att bygga relationer.
Har dere tradition för backevalkamp? Det har ju blivit ett tema för alltså, här i Norge så är ju det något vi har blivit flinkare och flinkare till och så är det väl så att de som är i by har lite lättare för att göra det än de som bor på bygda och sånt så då blir ju fort partiet lite i alla fall lite tydligare i byarna då.
Ja, nej men och det skulle jag säga att vi har också blivit bättre på det. Men om man tittar på, jag brukar alltid prata om att alltså valkampanjen sker ju på lokal nivå. Och då måste de lokala faktiskt också sätta sin egen valkampanj. Det är de som träffar väljarna och de vet hur man träffar väljare eller var man träffar sina väljare. Och om man tittar på vart vi är starkast i Sverige så är det inte i Stockholm, Göteborg eller Malmö. Utan våra tre starkaste kommunfästen, det är Jokkmokk och det är Gällivare och det är Åre. Och det är min kommun då. Men de ökade med nästan 2% efter att jag försvann. Så att det finns en liksom vissingseffekt där. eller någonting sånt.
Men de två andra kommunerna är ju väldigt långt norr.
De är jättelångt norr och de är i Norrlands inland. Och det är kommuner som egentligen på pappret inte borde vara gröna. Men de är det. Och det som är så spännande när man tittar på dem, det är ju att de där tre kommunerna, det är ju ingen av dem som har knackat dörr någon gång. Därför att
de har inte det heller, nej.
Nej, nu börjar jag prata norska igen. Men, nej, men det har man inte gjort. Däremot så vet man förstår vad deras väljare vill att man ska lösa för problem i deras vardag. Så du har liksom lokal kännedom, du har lokal förankring och du förstår vart väljarna är på den lokala nivån. Och då är det jätteviktigt att man faktiskt tar tillvara på den lokala kompetensen. Och även kandidaternas insats är också jätteviktig naturligtvis. Men det är ju precis som du säger. Man kan bli starkare i städerna för att man är fler. Men det är också jätteviktigt att faktiskt ha lokal förankring och kunskap.
Men hur stora är det då i Jokkmokk för exempel? Har du
13%.
Ja.
Är det. Nu är det alltså till befolkningen en väldigt liten kommun, men till ytan en väldigt stor kommun. Men, och Gällivare är ju något fler. Jag tror att de är kanske... Ja, där ligger de på 11-12% och i år är 10%. Så att det är liksom... Man ligger på tvåsiffrigt i alla fall.
Ja.
Och det har man gjort utan att knacka dörr. Så här, jag tycker att knacka dörr är jättebra. Det är otroligt bra och givande samtal. Kvalitativa samtal. Men när man är få så måste man satsa på det som funkar lokalt.
Nej, det är en kommun jag bor i så snackar vi ju om också som en del av processen för att laga program, gå ut och knacka dörrar då för att ha den dialogen med vad är det viktiga för dig här i din kommun.
Och det är jätteviktigt. Därför att då förstår man ju, för det är också en sak som jag pratar om väldigt mycket inför våran valkampanj. Nu är vi så långt inne, nu har vi liksom mindre än 5 månader kvar, eller vi har 5 månader kvar till valet. Men just det här att lyssna på vad väljarna säger, det är också jätteviktigt. Och då, om man liksom måste prioritera bort dörrknackning i liksom själva brinnande valrörelsen, så är det rätt tillfälle framförallt att knacka dörr när man ska liksom ta fram de här programmen för att faktiskt kunna lyssna. Det är ett väldigt bra sätt att få samtal.
I Norge så är det ju valg då om 1,5 år, sån lokalvalg. Ja, för det valg i Sverige är då riksdagen, inte?
Ja, nej, vi kör ju allt på en.
Ja, det kör allt på en gång.
Ja, vi river av plåstret och tar allt på samma dag.
Men hvordan hvis vi da hopper lite vidare från Die Grünen i Sverige, men hvordan vi har ju hört om Sverigedemokraterna och de har blivit hållt utanför och det är väl inte helt så att de hålls utanför längre, hvis jag har förstått det riktigt.
Nej, alltså Tidöregeringen då, de har ett Tidöavtal. De satte sig på ett slott, det var alltså Moderaterna, alltså höjre, och så var det Kristdemokraterna och Liberalerna som då satte sig med Sverigedemokraterna som de har ett budgetsamarbete med. Men de har ett väldigt detaljerat avtal som kallas för Tidöavtalet. Så vi kallar dem för Tidöregeringen. Men alltså i liksom själva praktiken så är ju Sverigedemokraterna med och förhandla budget. Men de står ju på alla presskonferenser också. Så att de är ju väldigt mycket en del av regeringen. Men de har inga ministerposter. Däremot så har de fler ordförandeposter i riksdagen då. Men det här kommer att ändras om de får makten nu efter valet. Därför att Liberalerna var de som höll dem borta från regeringsmakten ganska länge. Men den 13 mars, och jag minns datumet väldigt väl för det var på min födelsedag, så hade de en presskonferens tillsammans och så sa de att nu, alltså Liberalerna tillsammans med Sverigedemokraterna, att nu kommer vi släppa in Sverigedemokraterna i riksdagen. Nu har vi inga röda linjer längre utan nu är det full fräs framåt. Så att nästa gång så kommer de att sitta och då får vi se, är Sverigedemokraterna som de är just nu det största partiet? Så inte Sverigedemokraterna, jag brukar säga Socialdemokraterna, men det ska vi inte säga. Men
det var för det.
Ja, ja, precis, det var tidigare, men de är ju störst fortfarande. Men är Sverigedemokraterna störst efter valet? Och de ska bilda en regering med Moderaterna som är mindre, som vill ha statsministerposten. Ja, men då kommer ju de kräva kanske finansminister, försvarsminister, utrikesminister. De vill ha de tunga posterna i så fall. Och det här kommer att bli tufft och jobbigt för Sverige tror jag, om det är så att de tider vinner. Det ska ju visa till att de inte gör naturligtvis.
Hvordan ligger han i meningsmålingene? Ligger Sverigedemokraterna?
Ja, Sverigedemokraterna ligger 1-2% över Moderaterna fortfarande.
Så då får vi bara se. Nu är det ju tradition för att ting ändrar sig in mot valg, men...
Ja, precis. Så kan det verkligen vara. Alltså, om vi tittar på 2022 när det var val senast, då låg vi under spärren hela tiden. Fram till början på juli. Då gjorde vi ett skutt upp till strax ovanför. Och vi brukar göra som ni, att man tappar precis de här sista veckorna. Men vi gjorde inte det den gången, utan det höll vi i och landade på 5% tror jag det var. Så att vi har ändå gått upp där. Men det är såklart så att det kan hända massor med saker, även med Sverigedemokraterna.
7,35 går ut från att nästa stortingsvalg så må ju MDG i Norge ha ett mål om att slå svenskarna.
Ja, men vi har ju som sagt varit ganska stark liksom, vi pratar med varandra väldigt mycket och liksom sparras lite grann och sådär, så att jag hoppas väl på det.
Det är spännande. Men det sker ju mycket i världen nu, och det har skett mycket en god stund, och det är EU, dere är ju med i EU, och Norge är utanför, och det virker som, alltså Miljöpartiet De Grønne är ju väldigt tilhängare av att få en ny folkavstämning, men det virker inte som det är stämning för det i Norge. Men vad tänker dere i Sverige om EUs roll framöver då? Alltså Norge står ju liksom lite på yttersidan, men
Ja, om jag får dra en anekdot, så senast jag var här då var det väldigt intressant, för då var vi i Sverige på väg in och vi skulle ta beslut om NATO. Och vi i Miljöpartiet var liksom så här, nej, vi vill inte. Medan ni skulle ta ställning på ert landsmöte om att bli mer för den här folkomröstningen då, för EU. Så då sa jag i mitt tal då, förutom att jag är östtrönner som jag faktiskt sa, så sa jag också så här att vi kanske har ganska mycket att lära av varandra, för vi visste ju att vi kommer gå med i NATO oavsett om vi vill det eller inte. Så då skulle vi kunna lära oss av er hur ni har liksom gått ifrån att vara emot NATO till att bli liksom lite mera okej med det. Medan vi har ju gått ifrån att vara ett EU-skeptiskt parti och verkligen sagt nej till EU till att bli väldigt pro-EU och tycka att EU är en bra sak. Därför att det är ju väldigt mycket som sker på EU-nivå. Nästan all klimatpolitik till exempel, den ligger ju där. Och det är också därför vi är väldigt starka i Miljöpartiet. Vi blev det tredje största parti i EU-valet nu senast. Vi fick nästan 14%. Och det är klart att det är ju för att de här stora frågorna ligger där. Väldigt mycket miljöpolitik, väldigt mycket havspolitik är också jätteviktigt. Så det är klart att vi vill ju se ett starkt EU såklart, som är demokratiskt också. Det är väldigt mycket demokratiska. demokrati som ligger där.
Men sa du nå at når det er direkte valg til EU-parlamentet, det var det du snakker om?
Ja, precis.
Og da er det dobbelt så store som dere er ved riksdagsvalget?
Ja.
Intressant.
Det är väldigt, väldigt många. Ja, jag tror att det var 250 000 fler som röstade på oss. Alltså jämfört med, det här var alltså 2024, så var det 250 000 fler än 2022 som röstade på oss. Och nästan uteslutande så kommer de från Socialdemokraterna. Därför att mest troligt så är det väl så att man inte riktigt litar på Socialdemokraternas klimat- och miljöpolitik. Men man ser att vi är viktiga i EU och behöver ha en stark delegation där.
Jeg er overrasket over at det er så store endringer mellom sånne ting, men vi ser jo da også på det, når vi har lokalvalg og nasjonalt valg i Norge, så er det jo veldig store forskjeller. Altså
det handlar väl också lite grann om att jag tror att det här var första gången som faktiskt valdeltagandet sjönk till ett Europaparlamentsval. Och det är klart att det är ju inte 85, 86, 87% som röstar i ett EU-val. Men däremot är det våra väljare, och även era skulle jag tänka mig om ni hade haft EU-val. De är väldigt måna om att använda sin demokratiska röst och faktiskt gå och lägga sin röst på valdagen. Sverigedemokraterna, de får ju inte sina att rösta i EU för de ser inte det viktiga med det. Men det gör våra väljare. Däremot så har vi väldigt stor potential då, eftersom det är 250 000 fler nu då, som vi ska hova in.
Ja. Nej, det høres jo ut som en sannsynlig forklaring.
Ja.
Men sånn forsvarsmessig, det er vel sånn da at både MDG i Norge og dere i Sverige, røttene kommer fra fredsbevegelse og sånn, så veien til å bli ganske positive til NATO, som da både dere och vi är nu, det har varit en lång väg.
Ja, precis. Jag skulle verkligen inte säga att vi är positiva till NATO, men vi kommer inte aktivt driva ett utträde, särskilt inte med världen som den är nu. Men det är klart att vi har ju tagit ett steg till att faktiskt acceptera. Vi röstade emot NATO-inträdet. Vi är fortfarande emot, liksom, alltså vi tycker fortfarande att vi gjorde rätt, men att vi accepterar det därför att världen ser ut som den gör. Men vi har fortfarande mycket att lära av er att kanske acceptera det. Ja.
Nej, man ska ju pröva att ha en politik som är tillpassad den verkligheten som är där. Och när verkligheten ändrar sig så mycket som den då har gjort nu i 10-20 år, så är det ju... Det var en gång det var ganska stabilt.
Ja, nej men visst. Ja.
Men en ting som jag är väldigt nyfiken på. Vad tänker egentligen svenskar om norrmän? Här Norge på slutet av 60-talet så fann vi olja i Nordsjön. Och,
va? Har ni olja?
Ja, och så började att pumpa upp, och så var det någon som fann ut att man skulle placera dessa pengarna i ett fond, och nu är det blivit ett fond som är så stort att det är... Det är inte bra för den norska folkesjela, tänker nog fort jag då, men det är ju någon som menar det är väldigt bra, men i alla fall. Men vad tänker svenskar? Alltså säger det då, nej, Norge har dessa oljebiljarderna, eller vilken nivå?
Ja, nej men först och främst så då, jag är ju östrunner, så att jag har ett väldigt nära band med Norge, har spenderat väldigt mycket tid i Norge. Vi har haft hytte i Vangshylla, i Trönder, Tröndelag. Men i alla fall, så jämtarna, alltså där jag är född och uppvuxen, där jag alltid har varit, är ju generellt ganska positiva till norskarna, därför att vi har ganska starka band. Däremot så tycker jag att det har skett ett skifte, för tidigare så, du vet, hela det här ni tycker att vi är dumma och tvärtom kanske. Men det tycker jag, det finns inte längre riktigt. Det har slipats ner. Men däremot så är det precis som du säger, att så här, det är ganska ofta så när man är ute och pratar, säg omställning från fossila bilar till elbilar, så är det ganska mycket så att när man pratar om det så säger man så här, ja men Norge har gått så mycket längre, så är det ganska mycket, ja men vadå, de har ju sina oljemiljarder, att man verkligen liksom så här ganska mycket vispar av det för att ni har så mycket pengar. Och det är väl klart att vi kan väl vara avundsjuka på det, men jag tycker att vi ska jobba tillsammans med er istället.
Uppfattar du det? Du har ju levt någon år, men har du haft någon bevissthet att Norge ändrat sig? Norges uppförsel sånt sett från ditt sted? Nej, det är ju fortfarande de här på skärtorsdagen till exempel. Så kommer ni och det dundrar liksom. Då åker jag inte, då lämnar jag inte mitt hus. Utan då ser jag till att ha gjort påskhandlingen innan och så. Jag kommer inte ihåg vad det heter. Det har ju något. Rennardagen. Nej, på norsk?
Ja.
Skärtorsdag.
Ja, men det kommer ju jättemycket folk. Och
det liksom... kallar det något speciellt i Sverige.
Ja, jag tror det. Ja,
men jag hörde att Pol i Strömstad blev stängt nu på skärtorsdag.
Ja, precis.
På grund av galen.
Ja, men och vi har ordningsvakter liksom, som i vårat systembolag liksom, som bara nej, nu som tar in folk liksom, så okej, en in, en ut. Så man behöver ha gjort sin handling och mycket sånt. Och det är ju en tradition som, den dippade lite grann efter corona och covid. Men jag tycker att den är tillbaka starkt. Jag tycker inte att ni har ändrat så mycket liksom. Det är ändå fart det är russebussar och allt sånt. Men det är klart, alltså så här, det kan ju sticka i ögonen hos många att just de här oljemiljarderna finns. Och så här, varför har inte vi så mycket pengar? Alltså.
Tusen tack.
Tack.
Lycka till med valget som det är i september.
Ja, tack. Inte nästa år utan i år.
I år.
Jag ska försöka komma ihåg det så att jag röstar också.
Lycka till.
Tack.
Ja, Anders. Då är du lite uppdaterad på Sverige, och så är det då så var det den där intervjun du hade då.
Allu från Finland. Hun er jo også sentral der og i det finske grønne, søsterpartiet til MDG i Finland, og hadde mye å snakke om. Det ble jo selvfølgelig, når Finland har en så lang grense mot Russland og en historie som hva skal vi si, den er i hvert fall ikke konfliktfri, den historien. Eller konfliktfri heter det vel kanskje. Men så det ble litt snakk om sånne ting, men også litt om andre ting de er opptatt av i det finske partiet da. Og så var vi selvfølgelig innom samarbeidet mellom Norge, Sverige og Finland. Og for Finland, siden de har Bottenviken imellom, så landsamarbeidet blir stort sett, eller gjerne i nord da. Så, men det var jo greit det. Som jeg nevnte i stad, så hun var flink til å prate for seg, så det sklei av gårde. Welcome to Grønn Torsdag, Grønn Thursday. Allu,
thank you.
Me?
Thank
was
you.
That more or less correct?
That was very, very much correct. Thank you.
You're from the Finnish Greens. I am sure that our listeners here don't know much about the Finnish Greens, because I don't know much, and I'm sure the rest of them are more or less the same as me. So can you please explain a little bit what's the situation for the party, how big are you, what your major concerns, etc.?
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me here and being here in this podcast. Is very, very nice, and for the first time in Norway, by the way. So in Finland, the Greens are quite a youngish party. I mean, we are soon 40 years old, so we're not horribly young, but we are young in the sense that we have some bigger parties which have been there for a long time and also have a long background, like the Social Democrats and the National Coalition Party, also the Center Party. And as in terms of size, we are mid-sized, so we are usually have been the I would say fifth or sixth biggest group in the parliament. To those levels, maybe sometimes we could be the fourth one even. We have had last period from 2019 to 2023, so we have a 4-year parliament period. We had actually 20 MPs altogether, 20 members of parliament, and that was the record for us. That was of course due to the massive amount of climate and nature talk that was happening in the last decade. We had a really good push, so we also benefited like many other countries. However, the same thing then also happened to us as in many other countries. Then in 2003, when we had the last parliamentary elections, we actually lost 1/3 of our seats, and now we have 13 MPs, which is still a great amount, and we are a prominent party. And our polling is, in the elections, it's been quite good, so it's been like 11% or something to this nature. But in the polls that are like monthly, it's usually less. So now we actually had the biggest poll for a long time. Actually, for the first time in this period, we had 9.2% was our polling, and that was really good. So when we lost the election in 2023, it was only 7%. So this is kind of the situation. We are mid-sized, but I will say that we are more influential than maybe our size. We are a party that can influence many decisions, and many other parties are interested in what we feel about things. And of course, we have a very strong and visible leader at the moment.
Yeah, and your major cases or policy areas that you work with at the moment are?
Well, of course, nature, environment, that's always the basis of everything we do. That's how we formed through Pekka Haavisto and others who kind of founded us in the 1980s. So that's, of course, the basis always. And it's still so, even though we are talking about that the Left Alliance and Social Democrats seem to be taking environmental issues into their platforms, but we do see it that in many cases it is us Greens precisely who are the first and foremost taking care of nature issues, animal issues, and we are there pressing the buttons, actually doing the work. And we also do proposals a lot in programs. But then, of course, yes, we are a diverse party. We are also like a general party in the sense that we've had good ratings and pollings in the previous elections and seasons. And, this, of course, means that we have to talk about many, many things. And now what's been happening in the world and also in Finland that most people are talking about defense issues and then economy. So those are the two big things that people are talking about. We do have a lot to say about those as well. But then also the constant issues and also issues that are very we've had good success with is of course education, human rights and equality of people. I would say that we are maybe the most visible party with terms of like gender and gender minorities and sexual minorities and people in different kinds of groups. Also, we have a very strong background in disabled people. Our first MP in 1989 was a disabled person, Kalle Könkkölä, who was in a wheelchair, and they had to actually build special structures in the Parliament House for him to get in. So we have a really strong history there as well. And then, of course, we are a party that supports entrepreneurs, like especially small entrepreneurs and small businesses. Not the richest, not the biggest ones necessarily all the time, but the people who are actually trying to make. And then our current leader, Sofia, who is amazing. Her background is in social services, children's services, youth services, and she knows a lot about healthcare. So those are actually things that are very much progressing with our party as well. And those are things that people are talking about all the time: how to get healthcare, and in general how to make ends meet. That's how we got to our, one of our key things that we are promoting: basic income.
Yeah. Well, sounds like the Finnish Greens and the Norwegian Greens are sister parties, because that's, and of course we are, because more or less the same focus areas and policy areas. But you also just finished a participation in a panel discussion about security and military stuff. And I was there listening to you guys, and one thing you said, which of course is true, the well-being of the people is the best security measure.
Yes.
And I assume it doesn't need much explanation, but just in case, could you elaborate a little bit?
I would love to elaborate. This has been very well shown in the Finnish politics, and I think in the EU as well, that now that we're talking about defense issues, which are very important, and we have to take those seriously and have to have the conversation and coordination, but we tend to oftentimes think about the weapons. We think about the tanks and the iron and how much money we put into those. And we can't completely sideline thinking about those as well. But what about the rest? I mean, it's not the machines themselves, it's not the guns themselves who are making the decisions, it's the humans behind them. And what we need to make sure of is that we don't need to become a second Russia. We don't need to fight force with force. That's probably what some of those people want us to do. But we need to create a strong defense system, and that means resilience. That means things that, of course, we're talking about how to, what is our infrastructure, how we get food, what is our agriculture, how can we do things ourselves and not by importing. But it also means the well-being of people. It means basic needs. It means that you are healthy, you have a roof on top of your head. I mean, the European Green Party has been talking a lot about this housing crisis, and we're still in a good place with that in Finland, but that's on our doorstep at the moment, because unfortunately we have quite a far-right government in Finland at the moment, and they're making decisions that directly affect the poorest in many directions. So there's often like these intersectional cross-cutting effects for the same people from many directions. And this is horrible, because what it means is that we can't educate our children as we used to, we can't take care of our youth, we can't take care of our elderly. And the solutions actually that the Finnish government has suggested is that you can just take your elderly to live with you at home. You can just take care of them yourself. That government doesn't have to do anything about it. So it's very like a one-sided opinion of that. And this is just like at the top of the iceberg. There are so many things. It's about jobs. The current government has not done their promise on creating new jobs. We don't have all the support systems that create the situation where a human being doesn't end up on the street have been taken away. There's social services and national services that are saying that to a student that if you can't get a summer job, you need to quit the school, because otherwise you won't get the employment benefits. And this is just ridiculous. This goes against everything that we stand as Greens. And also, it's very stupid. I mean, acting like this, it means that if actually something happens, which very well may happen, that, for instance, Russia or another country starts some type of warfare or acceleration, our people will be diminished in who are actually capable of doing something, because most people will be so scared and so like in a weakened position to actually answer. And this would, to me, this is like clear as day. This is like children understand this, that the better you are, the more strength you have to all types of adversity and opposition.
Very good. One last thing that we should touch in on. Finland entered the NATO a few years back due to certain circumstances, I must add.
Yes.
Norway has been a member for quite a few years, since 1949. What about how should Norway and Finland cooperate? And we have Sweden in the middle, of course, we can't just exclude them.
Sounds very Finnish,
but the three of us are more or less, I think someone said, like an island up north.
Yes.
We're separated from the rest of Europe in some way, one way or the other.
Yes.
So we have to figure out how to work together, the three of us.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, the one thing, and the first thing is that yes, we should talk more. We should collaborate more, because at least in the public discussion, but also inside the parliament, we often talk about Sweden and what's happening there. We use them as an example for good or for bad. But we don't talk about Norway enough, and I think that we should definitely have, because Norway is first of all in a very unique position. That's very important, and I think that's whatever Norway decides and Norway does, especially with the North and in general, is very like affecting the Finland. So it's like it's very. We should have more collaboration and we should have more cooperation as well. And because we're kind of similar countries, I feel. We have a similar mindset in a way, and which is a bit different than in Sweden, I would say. And we've been talking about this a lot here as well. And of course, as Finns, we now look into the direction of Norway as with stars in our eyes. 10 years ago, we were still, thinking that okay, the world is quite a safe and place where you can trust certain processes, and we were doing railway plans to St. Petersburg, and in Russia, and we had import-export and tourism. Now everything is closed off; it's all gone. And we don't know how long that will take or what will happen, if that will ever return. And regardless of whether it does or not, we need to look into the future. And I think the future is actually in the direction of Norway. Now we just had this week, I think, some good announcements from the current parliament about strengthening the railway system in northern Finland with Oulu and Kemi and Tornio towards, of course, Sweden, but then also Norway. And I think Norway has a unique position because you have such a big ocean line. You're in the way up north, and you have expertise that many don't have from the Arctic area, from maritime issues. And I think you kind of have also the unique position of being, outside of the all of the EU countries. So I think you have a unique position, and you have people are very interested in what you are doing, and I think you have a logistically also a very interesting position because you have the strong front line with the ocean. And I think definitely we could use that, or we could benefit from that, and we could kind of help each other. And at the same time, the EU should also benefit from your experience, definitely.
And maybe Norway from the EU.
Yeah, Norway from the EU. Yes, both ways, not just for them to take from you, but the other way around. So I think this is definitely what should be done.
Yeah, thank you so much for this talk. It's been a pleasure having you here on the Grønn Torsdag.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hun gikk av seg selv, hun? Eller?
Ja. Men da var vi ferdig med Norden. Nå kan vi bevege oss videre utover Europa. Da var det Sven, da var vi fra Tyskland. Die Grünen.
Ja. Og han, jeg har jo fulgt med på de Grüne i Tyskland siden tidlig på 80-tallet, og det har vært spennende å se hvordan de har greid å vært i posisjon, og hvor store de har blitt noen steder. Det er jo en delstat der de er faktisk over 30%. Det er jo statsbærende. Da. Jeg var jo inne på Jagland med 36,9 her, men de var ikke helt der oppe, men det er interessant å se hvor store de da har blitt, og hvordan de ser på sin posisjon. Da. 12 000 folkevalgte, så du det, Anders?
Ja, men de har jo også sliter med at de er bedre representert i deler av landet enn andre deler, så det er nok en utfordring for dem, og det som de helt sikkert har noen tanker om å jobbe med.
Det snakket Sven mer om.
Velkommen til Grønn Torsdag. Her Sven Giegold. You are from the Grüne in Deutschland, and you are what should I say, vice chairman, and you are responsible for the international work in your party. Is that correct?
Yes, it's perfect. You know everything about us.
Yeah, but that's all I know. I don't know how here in Norway we started in 1988, and we always looked at the Grüne in Germany. They are the best. But how big are you now at the national level?
Well, depends how you count it, right? But starting is we have about 180,000 members, paying members, and on the national level we poll around 12%, and we are in several of the regional governments, and we have about 12,000 people elected on the local level mainly, but also in the Länder and on the federal level.
And I've heard that you are good at the west part of Germany and not that good at the right east part. Is that still like this?
Well, it is a bit like this, although it's more complicated. So in the big cities in the east, of which there are less, we are also doing well. But in the rural areas in eastern Germany, we have more difficulties. And it's true that the origin of the green movements in civil society and all this did not exist in the same way in eastern Germany. So therefore, in western Germany, we have that root on which the party can rest, and therefore the pattern is like this. Yeah, but we are working on it, and actually there's a lot of east in the west and a lot of west in the east. So, for instance, we work a lot now how we can improve in rural areas, and I think the green message has a lot to offer, in particular for rural areas, and we have to become better communicating these.
Are you, when you're doing your campaign, are you now doing how do you do it? Do you go to people where they live and speak directly with them?
Of course. So there are lots of elements of a campaign, right? But we also do a lot of canvassing, like you do here in Norway. So we knock at doors, we speak to people, we report back their concerns. At the same time, we of course do also traditional campaigning, like with a big media and social media, but also we have a campaigns platform to which people can subscribe and join petitions and actions and the like. So they're all, and of course we also do a lot of polling. So that means trying to understand better, not only by direct conversation, but also by asking questions, what are the concerns of our voters and of those who are considering voting for us. So that is very important.
Have you been knocking on doors for a long time?
It's now going on since, I don't know, it started 10 years ago.
Yeah, same in Norway. It's quite new here also, and we really want to do it more, and it's of course important.
Well, I think when you are a party which is often part of the government, like with us, so on the local level, the regional level, very often Greens are also responsible. It's of course a different situation than our English friends, who are basically an opposition group. They don't have any responsibility in the state, very little. We share part of the responsibility. So therefore, speaking to people is one thing, anchoring your own policies in the expectations and everyday lives of people is another thing. So we have to demonstrate that we are actually doing something of what they are saying. So that is of course a totally different situation than have a charismatic leader who can promise something, but so far the party in England was never tested whether they can actually deliver it.
The same with us in Norway. Yeah. But
well, you are voting the budget.
Yeah.
So if you vote a national budget, people will ask after several years, how much did I get for my vote for you? So, and that is a different situation than simply saying the world is bad and vote green for hope and change.
Yeah, absolutely correct. But just to go back to this status in Germany, if I saw correct, there was a very good election in Baden-Württemberg. And that's where you are biggest, is that correct? Or I guess it's over 30%?
Yeah, that's the state where we are strongest. But of course, in Baden-Württemberg, there are huge differences. So there are areas where we are stronger and areas where we are weaker. And there are other areas in Germany where we are also strong. So we have, for instance, the mayors in Hamburg, in Munich, which we also just won. But we also have mayors, for instance, in Hanover or in the east, in Greifswald. So on the local level, there are lots of areas where Greens can be strong. I believe what it also shows, it's not only a regional thing, it's also the question, do you have a credible leader? Do you have people who are credible in what they say and that they can deliver actually the change you are promising. So yeah, and that was strong in Baden-Württemberg. Simply Jem, the candidate from the Greens, was by far the most preferred candidate as prime minister, and that's why we won.
Of course, that single persons is extremely important.
I think credibility in politics is extremely important. Not only single people, but people who represent certain views and constituencies, also mental constituencies, and whether you are credible or not is actually absolutely crucial. Wherever you look in England, the main reason why they are successful is not because they are knocking doors, but it's because they have a leader who for the first time can really represent the Greens and England and Wales nationally, Zak. The same you saw with New York with Mamdani, one person to whom people could transfer their hopes for change, and you're even more liberal in the Netherlands, Rob Jetten, who is more a liberal but also greenish guy. Again, one person who was able to communicate. So it's, I think it's sad, but this personal credibility beyond substance is very important.
But what do you think in Germany? I've heard about Alternative for Deutschland. How is the right side still rising, or do they have any? Is there, how should I say that? Maybe too complicated in English. But is there? Can you see any changes in the direction for the right parts of the politicians in Germany?
Well, so the global disease in Western democracies of extreme right populism and is also existing in Germany. So they are now the strongest party in the polls. But so far, what is sort of still functioning is that nobody wants to govern with them. So it's a very clear taboo not to govern with them. So therefore, as they have no majority in the population, there's still a solid majority which doesn't want the extreme right in any position of influence. As long as this is the case, this is less of a challenge. However, behind this is of course worrying changes in the German population and their attitudes, and this has to be taken seriously, of course, by all political parties, and in particular, in our case, there is a big concern whether the state is still functioning and whether the state is able to deliver to the aspirations of the citizens. And that is a huge question of self-confidence in Germany, to which all political parties have to find answers. So, and this has an economic side, but also a cultural side and a social side, and even an environmental side. And at least in Germany, many people have the feeling that fundamental public functions do not function as good as they should. So, to make a joke, in your tunnels, the internet is better in the mountains than in the city of Berlin. And that is part of our problem.
You have seen Trump is taking all, at least we feel like this in Norway, he take all the news. If he says something strange, it's always on the top of the news. I guess it's close to that in Germany also. Do you understand?
No, I don't really believe in it. So it's, of course, he's the most powerful person in the world. So therefore, he's taken seriously, and he has to be taken seriously, which is really difficult because it's not so easy to know when he really means it. So obviously he has a communication style of trying to threaten people with extreme positions, but you do not know how much of that he really wants to achieve. I'm not sure whether he knows himself, but that's, I don't know. But at least this is a method of first shaping the debate, right? However, I would not say that the German public only is concerned about Trump and his ideas. So that's not the case. We have enough challenges ourselves.
The war now in Iran, Norway are earning money, and the financial minister says we are not earning money, but of course the price goes up, and view of the world that we earn money on war.
Yeah, look, first I have to say that we were in Europe, and in particular in Germany, very lucky that Norway has helped us with gas and oil, mainly with gas. That was very important when Putin basically ended the deliveries of gas. We are already too dependent on LNG from the US, and I rather fill the pockets of a civilized country like Norway than of authoritarian dictators in the Middle East, or of a crazy American president. So therefore we are really grateful that Norway has helped out. That doesn't change that we are all under obligation to reduce our dependency on fossil fuels to zero as soon as we can. And of course this means, on the one side, Norway is important as a stable source until we have managed the full phase out, and at the same time this oil and gas economy will come to and has to come to an end, in Germany as a customer, and in Norway as a supplier. So and of course it's a great responsibility what you do with the money. So you transfer oil and gas capital into financial capital, and this financial capital can never be used in Norway. It's a huge state fund. You can achieve great things with this capital. It's a great responsibility.
Yeah, very much of that capital is, of course, put into different things in the United States. So Tesla, for instance, Norway are a big owner there, and that's of course a problem also. So it's
but if you have a large 3-digit billion figure of capital invested, you can also put this money into new technology which is needed to save the world. So there is a big issue what to do with this money, and on the other side, to organize together the phase out from fossil fuels. So therefore it's probably a very proud stand to be critical of oil and gas and being Norwegian. So like us, we are trying to change our car industry in Germany, which is also not always easy.
Thank you, Sven. Are you going to look at the birds here in Norway?
Not today. I'm confused because you have different names for the birds. I can distinguish them in German, but not in Norwegian. But I was hiking a lot in Norway, and I think Norway is the most beautiful country we got in Europe. And I spent a lot of time in your mountains and woods, and you have a huge treasure with your nature, and preserve it.
Jeg trodde tyskere var dårligere i engelsk. Han var mye, mye bedre enn det jeg var.
Ja, og kjære publikum, nå skal dere få høre hvor god Karina er i engelsk. Det var hun som snakket med Christina fra European Greens. Så Christina bor i Belgia, da, sånn at Christina er heller ikke engelsk som morsmål i hvert fall.
Christina Kessler.
Yes.
Welcome to Grønn Torsdag.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
You're welcome. So you are visiting Miljøpartiet De Grønne, the Norwegian Greens, for their yearly convention. How is it to visit your Norwegian siblings here up in the north?
It's really nice. Maybe I should mention I'm from the European Green Party, so I visit a lot of different Green parties in my work. And it's always a joy to come to different party congresses. But yeah, this one has been especially nice so far. People have been really, really friendly. Also exceptionally helpful with the English, I have to say, because obviously I don't really speak any Norwegian. The food has been amazing, and also there has been free ice cream. Anyway, not a lot of Green Party congresses have free ice cream, so this is really a big plus.
I've done a lot of talks here, and you talked about the right parties
Yes.
in Europe.
Yeah, I'm just coming from a workshop about the rise of radical right parties all across Europe. Also in Norway, but also all across Europe. And right before that, I was on a panel on European and Norwegian security and defense.
So what do you think about European security right now? Are we surviving?
We are surviving, but that's not a very positive statement. I mean, I think we're in a really dire situation as Europe, because, I mean, for a very long time, Europeans have lived with the security guarantees of the United States. But what we see currently happening in the United States is incredibly scary, and the Trump administration is on a quest to normalize relations with Russia. So what we should be able to do is take care of ourselves, but we're not there yet. And I think this is the big challenge that we're currently facing.
So, and we also have some European Union countries that are kind of more Russia friendly.
Yes.
How are you dealing with that?
Well, so I mean, I think you're talking about Hungary. Yeah, it's been, I think, really, really difficult over the last few years for the European Union to support Ukraine with Orban in their midst. Somehow they managed to mingle through, but really barely. And it's such a blessing right now that Orban was voted out, not just for Hungary, but also for all of Europe and also for Ukraine.
But will there really be a difference? Do we know that yet?
There will definitely be a difference. That doesn't mean to say everything is fine again and no worries, Hungary back to normal. I mean, Orban spent 16 years rebuilding Hungary into the illiberal autocratic system that it is today. Like the way elections work right now in Hungary, the way the judiciary is under control of the state apparatus, the way the media environment has been completely made into a servant of the government. You can't just easily reverse the damage that has been done in 16 years. But what there is now is an opening to actually, like, if this goes well, this is the starting point of a very long and also very longful path. But at the end of that path, there might be again a more pluralistic Hungary, a truly democratic Hungary, a liberal Hungary, hopefully also a green Hungary at some point.
Yes, because we need the European domain to function as a democratic domain.
Yes.
And of course, Norway is one of the democracies, but we are not a part of the European democracy. What do you feel about that?
This is my personal, very, very biased opinion. I think Norway should join the EU. I really would like for Norway to be in the European Union, both for the sake of Norway, but also for the sake of the EU. And I think for the sake of Norway, right now, Norway is part of the European Economic Area. Yeah. That means that, for example, when it comes to how the single market functions, etc., Norway is following a bunch of EU rules.
We are better than Germany, actually.
But exactly, but Norway is not at the table where these rules are being negotiated, and that's a bit insane. So I think for the sake of Norway, you should be part of the club. But then also I think for the sake of the European Union, I think we're at a geopolitical moment in time where we need to stick together. and we need to find our footing and think about how we can take care of ourselves as Europeans. And we need each other. And Norway is part of Europe and hopefully at some point in the future also part of the EU.
But if you look at the last years, let's say from 2022, what do you think about the Norwegian contribution to the European society? What has been good and what could Norway have done better?
I think there are a lot of things that Norway is doing really well. I mean, top of my head, renewables. There, Norway is really a trailblazer. Education system is amazing. This is a very, very niche example, but Norway is exceptionally good actually when it comes to the emissions reporting of its armed forces.
Actually I didn't know that.
Armed forces across the world are notoriously bad at stating publicly how much they emit, because it's such a touchy subject. Exactly, it's but Norway is really, really good at it, like absolutely a trailblazer when it comes to that. So lots of things they're doing good. Things that are maybe not so great from a green perspective, you might guess. There's the whole thing with the oil and gas. So that is certainly something where, as Greens, and also as Norwegian Greens, we would wish things to be a bit...
I would like to follow up on that, because we need energy. Of course, we need energy. And Norway is a huge energy provider, mainly in gas and oil. Shouldn't we produce the gas to provide to our European friends?
Well, I think Norway is also a trailblazer when it comes to renewable energy. And I actually think the European friends would very much appreciate support when it comes to that as well.
And we know that you will stop to use fossil energies at one point.
We have to at one point if we want to continue living on this planet and not drown.
So a perfect Norway in Europe, what would that be like?
Well, a perfect Norway. Who am I to come to Norway and tell people in Norway
I have to ask.
But in my, again, very biased opinion, that would be a Norway which is not only geographically a part of Europe, but also politically a part of the European Union. And fighting within the European Union to make the Union as a whole a better place for all Europeans.
And Denmark is in European Union, Sweden, Finland.
Yeah, exactly. There are so many of the others who are already part of the club. So Norway would not be the only one.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a huge fan of European Union. And if it was possible to have citizenship in the European Union on an individual basis, I would apply for that. But that's not possible. Is that something you could work for?
Yeah, I think that's right now a very, very distant reality. Maybe at one day, but I wouldn't get my hopes up for the next few decades or so, unfortunately.
No, so it's more possible to get Norway into the European Union, actually.
I would say so.
Yeah, so we should work for that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Christina.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Tror du Norge noen gang blir medlem av EU, Anders?
Ja, jeg tror faktisk det. Men akkurat når det skjer, men det kan fort bli 20 år til, liksom. Eller 30. Men jeg tror det skjer et eller annet som gjør at stemningen snur, og at nå må vi skynde oss, koste hva det koste vil nesten, og det er litt for dumt at det skal bli sånn.
Det vil jo bare tida vise om du har rett der, men jeg er ikke veldig overrasket. Men det spørs jo hva som skjer med USA da. Vi får jo se om det blir noen endringer der, om det faktisk blir en annen president en eller annen gang, eller om de bare fortsetter det samme løpet.
Ja, men uansett tror jeg om demokratene vinner tilbake igjen ved neste presidentvalg, så Så det blir ikke tilbake til den normalen vi kjenner fra Obama og Biden. Det blir noe annet. Det blir en ny normal.
Så får vi se om det blir en stabil normal, og så får vi jo se hvilke krefter det som tar kontrollen her i Norge etter hvert. Hvilken retning det går.
Det blir interessant etter hvert, ja.
Det vil bare tida vise, og så det kampen om det gode liv.
Ja.
Det var det.
Takk for i kveld.
Takk for i kveld.
Grønn Torsdag.